Good evening, everyone. Am I audible to you? Good evening. So, my name is Shahriyar Tak. I'm from Jammu and Kashmir, and I'm a student at NIT Srinagar of Computer Science Department. I've been asked to talk to you about my experience as a student and what my daily schedule as a student looked like and how I prepared for my examinations. Yes, I've been asked to wait for a while, so let's do. Just for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes till more students can join. Okay, so it seems like enough students have gathered. So let's start our proceedings today. Today, if anybody has any questions, he can write that in the comments. Okay, is that fine with everyone? I haven't yet graduated. I'll graduate in 2023. So I'll introduce myself again. My name is Shahriyar Tak. To those who haven't heard, those who weren't here before, my name is Shahriyar. My name is Shahriyar Tak. I'm from Jammu and Kashmir, and I'm currently pursuing computer science from NIT Srinagar. I'm in my third year. So I've been asked to talk to you about my life as a student and what I did when I was preparing for JEE mains. I'm pursuing computer science engineering at the moment. So let's start. So first of all we'll talk about first of all we'll talk about my situation at that time. So this is corona time, so none of you are actually going to school, but during my time I was actually going to school full time. That was one of that was something that actually occupied a big part of my day, 6 hours of my day, plus another 1 hour if you add the commute time would go towards school. That was a big portion of my day that would go, and I think this is a very good time for you that you don't have to go to school. I don't know how many of you actually go to school. There would be a lot of demo admissions there, but I used to go to school full time, and this is one of the advantages of corona, that you don't actually have to go to school full time. So for me, the biggest problem was time management, because what happens in school, there's a lot of stuff that isn't actually necessary. I intermediate from my hometown. It's a small town in Doda. My rank in IIT wasn't very good actually. It was I qualified, but I didn't. My JEE mains also didn't go very well. My advance was good, but my JEE mains didn't go very well. And at that time, and also some other exams like Nest and BitSat, most of them were pretty good. But in my mind, I always wanted to pursue computer science. So I wasn't getting computer science or any even related branch in any IIT. So I decided I would take CSE in IIT Srinagar instead of going to IIT and compromising on the branch. That was the reason I did not take an admission in an IIT. That is a personal choice actually. That may be a problem for a lot of people that NIT Srinagar. Um, that may be a problem for various people that NIT Srinagar is far, but I think it's worth it. There are a lot of students from various parts of India, even the farthest parts of southern India, that come there. And today they and I don't think that distance is an issue. So let's come back to the topic. What I was talking about is the biggest issue for me was time management. We'll go get to the questions after the stream, after I finish what I'm talking about. I'll talk about it, then I'll talk. First, I'll complete myself, then I'll take your questions, everyone. Let's save them for later. So, first of all, what my biggest issue for me was time management. But for me, my mornings would start pretty early, around 6, and I would go to school. The school would take 6 hours of my day every day, and the quality of education that most of you who have gone to school during 11th 12th would know isn't exactly very good or isn't exactly inspiring. But the purpose of school isn't exactly to teach you. Their purpose is to get you to score good marks in board examinations. That isn't a very good goal. They So that was one of the biggest challenges of my time. So what my schedule looked like, I would wake up early in the morning, prepare for school, go to school, somehow get through it. And after I got home from school, my first thing was to get to coaching classes. As you know, I went to Salesa. Salesa used to teach in our town at that time. So after coaching classes, what I would do, I would go home, and within the next hour, I would complete all my daily tasks that I had to do other than my studies. Whatever I would have to take care would be taken the next couple of hours. After that, the rest of my time, I would concentrate on my studies, and I would decide what to study was. I would start with what was taught in the coaching that day. That would be my first priority, to cover what I was taught that day, which is something that is very important, which is very important for everyone who's listening or have anyone who wants to prepare for JEE, is to always keep up with the classes, never lag behind your classes. It could be it's very detrimental that we don't get behind our studies, because if you start thinking that, okay, this is we'll do this tomorrow, or I can do it another time, that will keep piling up, and that is something that should not happen, because the syllabus for JEE is very huge. And at the end you have one if towards the end you have a lot of syllabus remaining, that would severely impact your performance, because towards the end you also have your school exams to take care of. So it is best that you should not lag behind your class. Always Always keep in touch with you. Always keep up with your classes. Never lag behind too much. So my first task would always be to have a thorough revision of what I read. Whatever was taught, I would just go through my notes. Whatever questions were taught by our teachers that day, that would be my first as priority to go through them. After that, what I would do is I would go and whatever reference book was referred by my teachers, which is also very important, that you should follow your teacher's advice. Whatever book or material your teacher is teaching in school or your coaching, that should be your first priority. So whatever was being taught, whatever books or material was being used by our student, what I would do, I would start practicing from there. And after that, after that would be my first priority. These two things would be my first priority. The first of all, revise what you were taught in class, and then practice what you were taught in class from whatever sources you want, whichever sources have been prescribed to you. And after that, what I would do is after that I would whatever the previous 10, that I would spend most of my time around 60-70% of my time I was spending these two steps, revising through what I was taught that day and practicing applying those concepts. After that, if I had some time left, what I would do, I would go through the previous lectures. I would try to always I would try to practice what I was taught in the before classes. That would be my next priority. After that, how I would schedule is, first of all, I'll do the subjects that how I would schedule is, first of all, I would do the subject that I'm strong at, because that would usually raise my confidence, and that is very good. That is very important that you have a good state of mind. The how I would start is I would start with my favorite subject, which used to be physics. At that time, it could be different for all of you. Everyone has different priorities and different sort of mindsets. Some people like physics, some people like math, some people like chemistry. But always start with the subject that you like the most, because that would raise your confidence, and a good state of mind is very important while studying. A positive mindset will help you a lot. I would start with the subject that I like most. After that, when my confidence is high, I would study my least favorite subject, which for me was chemistry, because I was very good at theoretical concepts, etc., etc. My second one would always be chemistry. Stuff like inorganic chemistry was always a boon for me. After that, it would be maths. I wouldn't say maths was very good or bad for me. It was decent. I was good at maths. I wasn't very bad at it. That is how I would schedule my how that is how I would divide my time. First, I would do my favorite subject, then my least favorite subject. After that, I would do the subject that I am comfortable in, the middle one. And for most of you, I think that during this corona time, you have a lot during this corona time, the you don't have to go to school, so you have a lot more time. So the best thing is that you should manage your time properly. Most important is that you manage your time properly instead of wasting it. I know it may seem tempting today that you don't have to go to class, you can do whatever you want, but the most important thing is to stay consistent. Give your best every day. Okay, don't lag behind your classes, and just give your but Salisa used to say that give your best every day, even if there's some day that you didn't attend classes or you had some work. If you only have 1 hour left in the day, don't think that, oh, I only have 1 hour left in the day, there's no point in studying, I'll study tomorrow. No, don't waste your time. Always, every day, give your best. Okay, everyone, give your best every day. Don't lag behind ever. Okay, always give your best. And if I was to give you any advice, it would be, in my opinion, if you would ask my advice, it just be to always give your best and every day give your best. Do not lag behind in your classes. Never lag behind in your classes. Okay, everyone. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, let's go to them. Anybody, any questions? Hello? What motivated me to study was what I would get from studying. Basically, I always used basically what studying. First of all, science was always something that inspired me. How stuff works, stuff like physics, and how everything in always it mesmerized me. How stuff works, electronics, and it is something that always inspires me, that how how simple stuff like, first of all, I know a lot of you are studying, you and you a lot of you have a lot of goals, and goals motivates you too, but to me science was always something that inspired me. I was always mesmerized with how stuff happened. Like when you are studying, you would realize that how very simple concept like semiconductors is used to make your phone. When you get into engineering classes, you realize how simple concepts like ICs, etc., are used. How simple concepts such as ICs, etc., are used to make such complex devices. And each IC is so simple; it's made from simple gates, but all these little simple gates combine to make such a complex. And these kind of things always inspired me. This is what brought me towards science. And after I got into science, I decided to take non-medical. I decided to become an engineer. I took non-medical. I decided to become an engineer, and that is what motivated me, because it just inspired me so much how little things come together and they make such big thing. How many hours? Okay, next question. Which book is a good book to study? First of all, there are no bad books. All books are good. There's no such thing as a bad book. All books are very good. There's no such thing as a bad one. The best book is the one that you complete, that works for you basically. And what your teacher, first of all, whatever your teacher is teaching in class, that should be your first priority. Whatever material he has suggested, coaching material or whatever else he has suggested, that should be your first thing to say. And after that is very important. And after that, if there's some book that you think you can complete, for example, HC Verma or books like IE Irodo are very good books for preparation of your exams. For the preparation of your exams. But what I would suggest is whatever your teachers are teaching in your class, that is the best book for you. There are plenty of books such as Narendra Avasthi, etc., but the more that isn't something you should do. You should, if you have time, that is good. But first thing you should do is study for whatever material your teacher references in class. That is, in my opinion, very important. How many hours did I spend? As I spoke earlier, that I was a full-time school-going student. As I was a full-time school-going student, I didn't have a lot of time, but I would still get at least 4 or 5 hours minimum in a day during a working day, and as many as I could on a holiday to study. I'm telling you, it's about giving your best as much as I can. You should not count the amount of hours you are studying. It's not about how many hours. You should not count how many hours. It's about giving your best. If in a day you have more free, if in a day you have more free hours, you should spend those hours towards studying. About stress management. Okay, so stress is something that affects every one of us, but stress is something that affects every one of us, but it should not. First of all, you should always take a step back and remember why you are doing this. And I know it could be stressful when you think that if this not, you should not let negative thoughts get in your way. Like, अगर मेरी selection नहीं हुई तो क्या होगा? Because there are always a lot of ways, and you should trust in your own abilities and in your own hard work. You'd always believe that if you do and if you work hard, I don't think there's any reason you won't succeed. Any other questions from anyone? Life in NIT is actually very good. Basically, there are good facilities. The hostel facilities are pretty good, and the hostel facilities are pretty good. Sports facilities, and especially our campus is actually very beautiful. If you could see in my in the thumbnail after that, you would see that our campus is actually very beautiful. And similarly, my friends who study in another NITs, they also tell that life in NITs is much better than you are currently living in your school or whatever, wherever you are living with your parents. First of all, there's a lot of independence that you get from living in hostel. First of all, and after that, and more than that, there is also that it's a sense of growth. It's a time where you live with your friends. It's actually really life in any NIT is very good. First of all, it's the best thing is about that is the independence. Instead of if you go in another colleges, there'll be a lot of curfews, etc., etc. But in NITs, you would find that there's a lot of freedom there, and I would say that is the best thing about a life in NIT, and also the facilities, the amenities in NIT, in all NITs and IITs are very good. So I wouldn't say that there's anything to complain about the life in an NIT. Any other questions? So managing time. So managing time is, as I spoke earlier, is very important for any student or for anything you want to do in life. So first of all, management of time starts with you should know how much time you have and how you do it. For example, let's say today you don't have to do any classes or you don't have to go anywhere else. You are basically taking all of you are taking online classes. Yes or no? Can you tell if many of you are taking online classes, and that actually saves you a lot of time. You don't have to commute at, and there are a lot of benefits to that as well. How you manage your time is, first of all, you should see what are your first of all you should see what are your strong points, and you should focus on them. Focus a lot of your time on what are your strong points and on your weaknesses. For example, for me, the strong subject was physics, so I actually spent a lot more of my time on physics so that I do not leave any question of physics that comes there. Similar thing is, if you have any other subject that you are strong, you should actually spend more time on that subject so that if in that subject you do very well, and after that you should spend your time to the subject, spend more of your time of your subject to the weaker one. That is how I used to do it. And the best way to manage your time is the way that works for you. I can tell you what I would do, but more important that is what would work for you. And how to remember topics easily. The best way to remember topics is to practice them a lot. For example, especially in topics such as inorganic chemistry. But inorganic chemistry was always the weakest point. How I would do it, I would actually do a lot of questions, and then after that I would remember their answers. The questions that I would get wrong, I would remember their answer and see their explanations. That actually helped me a lot. Instead of just going mugging through all the long parts of theory, what I would do, I would basically, for inorganic chemistry, I would study the from the NCERT. Then after that I would do questions from any question bank, and those questions I would not get, and the question that I would not get, what I would do is I would just look their explanation on the solution. That's how I used to remember topics. And that is for theoretical subjects. And even for the technical subjects such as physics, the best way to remember them is by practicing. I don't think there's any better way to do remember topics than practicing. And how you can score in JEE is, first of all, concentrate on your strength. And first of all, what I was taught during my time in coaching was concentrate on first of all, chemistry is easy. For example, even though chemistry wasn't my strong subject, I would still say chemistry is actually an easy subject to score in, because first of all, the syllabus is low as compared to other subjects, and the questions aren't very tough. The kind of questions that are asked in chemistry, especially in organic chemistry, there are a lot of theoretical questions that could be scored. And topics such as biomolecules that are towards the end of the NCERTs, these are easy topics and you get questions from them. These topics are very low syllabus and they have the same weightage. They give you one question, 4 marks, and that 4 mark is instantaneous. For example, a question that you get from biomolecules, it would take you 10 seconds to solve it, and at the same time, one question in physics would take you 1 minute to solve it, so it will also save you a lot of time. So how I would suggest to score more is always start from chemistry. Start from chemistry, do the theoretical questions first, and after that, my rank in JEE was around 8,000. Why you asking? I don't know why you're asking me this again and again. So, any other questions? So, how I used to see the question, how much time you should spend on study? There is no specific amount. It's about as much as you can give. I know we all have our lives. We want to hang out, but studying at this time in your life, your biggest priority should be your studying. So how I would say is just get when you get up or whatever you do in the morning, you get up, you do your classes, and after that you should at least study 6 hours, because you don't have school, you don't have anything else. You should at least spend 6 hours studying, or half a day if you include your classes. You should spend at least half of your day towards studies. At least 12 hours a day including your classes should go towards your studies. Tell the way you choose the subject in revision. What subject to prefer first? How I started revision was, I first of all, what I did was I started with the technical parts of any subject. I started all the subjects at the same, revising all the subjects at the same time. I started revising all the subjects at the same time, but first of all, I would do the technical parts, and I would do the theoretical parts later, because they are what you would call the ghota part, the ratta part. So you should do them at last so that you remember them while you're giving an exam. Physics was my favorite subject because physics was my favorite subject. First of all, one of the theories that I learned from physics was that all the questions are actually basically, no matter how complex a question it is, it's actually a group of simpler problems clubbed together. Actually, no matter how tough the question is actually a group of smaller questions clubbed together. That is what physics taught me. That is why I would say that physics was where that is why it became my favorite, because of how it taught me that simple questions could be clubbed together to make complex questions, and vice versa, how simple concepts could be used to solve bigger questions. And that really fascinated me. That's why physics became my favorite question. Okay, so I would say that is it. So, last word, I would like to thank Sally sir for making this possible, for this lovely interaction with you. It's been really lovely. I would like to thank Sally sir for asking me to come here and speak to you. It's been really nice. Thank you all. So, at the end, I would just say give your best every day for anything. Just give your best every day, and just give your best every day. First of all, the only thing I would tell you is that give your best every day, and make studies your priority. That is how you will do anything. And to remember logical topics in physics, practice. practice. That's all I have to say. A big thanks to Saleh sir. Okay, then that's it.